All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rotary in the Heart of California. I'm so excited as your host, Devin Thorpe, to introduce you each month to a superhuman being. Jay Hislop is the district governor of Rotary District 5220, as we like to call it. But this is the district that sits really at the heart of California, the center part of the state, from Tracy over to Yosemite and up to Lodi and then down south. What are some of the towns down south, Jay? That
Merced, Madera, Gustine, Patterson. We have multiple clubs in both Merced and Madera, and also the area up near Yosemite, Mariposa and Oakhurst, along with Ceres, Turlock, up and down the
Yeah.
corridors of 99 and Interstate 5.
Jay, you are the screening process to become a district governor is really one of the most meaningful things in the world. And in part because a governor doesn't campaign for the role. A district governor is selected by peers, by past district governors. And so it really represents the highest conceivable compliment to a person to be told, hey, we think this highly of you, that we would like you to represent us for a year. And congratulations on that honor. And I hope our audience has some appreciation for what it means to be selected to be a district governor. With that,
Thank you. And just a couple words. You're not even allowed to campaign for it. In fact,
yeah,
our bylaws and our policies and procedures don't say that you may be disqualified, but if you campaign, you shall be disqualified to be district governor. So it's something that's done behind the scenes, and it's an honor and a privilege. I feel very honored to be selected, but I do want to say that even though the process is one of selection, I am just another Rotarian serving my fellow Rotarians in their clubs. That's my role, is to help strengthen clubs and help attract others to those clubs. So that's my goal, is to have strong clubs in our district and help them attract new members.
yeah. Rotary is fundamentally a service organization. I wonder if you would just take a minute and talk about some of the service that Rotary clubs are doing here in the Central California area.
The service area, and I think of service as being a product of Rotary. I think Rotary starts at the club level with men and women meeting and forming lifelong relationships. And those relationships are relationships of friendship. They're very collegial. They cross all boundaries. They cross all ethnic and religious boundaries. And people get together and they really have fun. They have fun because they're with people they want to be with. And I call it a human social network instead of a digital social network. That's Rotary. That's what Rotary is. And they're people who share values. And when you share values with people, you start thinking about how you can contribute. And that's where the service comes from. The service is an effect of our fellowship and of our friendship and wanting to get together to change the world. Rotarians believe that as a group, we can change the world. We believe it because we know it to be true because we've done it. Out of that comes an idea that one of our activities is service to the community, to our own clubs, to our own members, and to the world. So I just want to highlight one club that I visited recently, the Tracy Sunrise Rotary Club. And it's a small but mighty club. They're very active in their community, and they have an event called the Rotary Shrimp Dinner that they serve, as many as 250 people. And this is not uncommon in Rotary to hold a signature fundraising event like a shrimp dinner. Or up in San Andreas, there's 3 clubs that get together to do the Ragin' Cajun Fest, which has the Cajun sausages and crawdads or crayfish. They close Main Street and have a big party. Other clubs have crab feeds. There's tri-tip dinners. There's rib cook-offs, all sorts of things to raise funds. And then what they do from that shrimp feed is they support things like an Interact club in the local high schools. So Tracy is very involved with their local Interact clubs. Um, they create scholarships for students from the fundraising that they do. And Tracy Sunrise, for example, supports scholarships in the health professions. And these are going to high school graduates. They have a scholarship for vocational training, and they have a community service scholarship. So it's really a very active community service. In addition, they focus on literacy for kids. They have an annual dinner where they serve Thanksgiving dinner to seniors who otherwise don't have a place to go on Thanksgiving. They also have a Feed the Homeless regular program where they, not just once a year, where they feed the homeless and the underserved. They've worked on landscaping in Tracy. They built a clock in downtown Tracy and much more. It's a small group of people, but they're mighty. They also participate with youth at RILA, our Rotary Youth Leadership Awards program, which is a camp for leaders, people who have shown leadership capacity in high school. They're juniors and seniors, and they come for a 4-day weekend over President's Day weekend, and they learn to improve their relationship skills, their emotional intelligence, their ability to lead, and their ability to be led by their cohort of leaders. So Tracy Sunrise participates in that, and our district has an annual speech contest for high school. It's a very big deal. It's divided up into areas and clubs. Clubs hold speech contests, and their winner goes to an area speech contest. And ultimately, there's one winner in the district. They receive $1,000 scholarship. And it's wonderful to hear these young people deliver a 5-minute speech from memory on some Rotary topic. So that's Tracy Sunrise. And that's Tracy Sunrise, Devin, in more than a nutshell, but I wanted to feature one club, and we'll look for another club next month and do that same quick and
Yeah, that's great.
hopefully fairly accurate. I'll probably get a call from the president. Why didn't you talk about?
Yeah.
But
Well, but I think the great thing about what you're talking about is that Tracy Sunrise is not exceptional. It's a great club, probably a better than average club, but at the same time, it manifests the sort of thing, the typical things that great clubs do. And there are a lot of great clubs, even right here in District 5220, this Central California region. Now, let's talk a little bit.
Every club is different.
Yeah.
Every club in the world is different. And there's two things that I think make Rotary great. The clubs don't have to follow any specific set of guidelines. We have some general guidelines. They have to be part of Rotary and part of Rotary International. They can't ignore the district, and they can't ignore Rotary International. They're part of it, but the action happens at the club level. So every club is different worldwide. They're all different. And that's one of two things that makes Rotary exceptional. And the other is the Rotary Foundation. We can look at other so-called service clubs, and they may have the fellowship part, they may have the friendship part, they may do some community service, but Rotary has the largest private foundation of any not-for-profit organization in the world. We're at $2.075 billion right now. Our goal is to have 2025 and $2 billion and $25 million by 2025. And we met that goal, and now we've exceeded it by another 50 million. Out of that comes over $500 million in grants every year. That's what separates Rotary. That's what separates us from the pack.
That really is amazing. Let's shift gears. There's a shift going on in Rotary that began maybe a decade ago, maybe a little longer, but there's this sort of generational shift in how we talk about Rotary as Rotarians and our outreach to the community. Explain to us what you see happening and how you think that matters. What's going on?
You talked about the training or the selection program for district governor. And once you're selected, you're in a 5-year term. So when you're selected, you become what's called a district governor nominee designate. And then there's the nominee, the district governor elect, the district governor, and the immediate past district governor. No one needs to memorize that unless you get in the line. But it's a 5-year term. I'm in the 4th year of my 5-year term. So during that term, I've had amazing training opportunities, and I've attended all of them, whether they were online, whether they were, I have to go to my Rotary and go to the Learning Center and do modules in learning. And I recommend every Rotarian everywhere in the world go to my Rotary, go to the Learning Center, and log in and take a class. They're 15, 20 minutes, and you'll be blown away by the quality of it, the content, the depth of the content, and your ability to absorb what's being taught. That, Devin, is one of the newer ways that we're doing things. Shorter bites, good information delivered in a way that people are used to absorbing it now. In addition to that, we're changing the way we conduct our meetings, our district meetings. Instead of having long all-day meetings with many, many speakers and different breakout rooms, we're hosting 1 or 2 very powerful speakers, and they come to our Leadership Academy. And we've reframed everything we do in this umbrella of adult education, where people get a lot of time to interact with each other and not just listen to a talking head. The next thing is we've changed our communication. We used to have a district governor blast, email blast. I'm not doing that. I may do it later in the year, but right now we have a podcast. So I get to communicate not just with my 1,600, hopefully soon 1,750 Rotarians in the district, but I get to communicate with the world this way. We also are in the process right now of developing a new website with new and active web content. We're also revitalizing and revamping our social network, our digital social network. So we're looking at having easy access to our Facebook page and Instagram and really reaching out to people. All of this comes from training that we're getting from Rotary International and our zone to help us bring Rotary into the world that most potential Rotarians are living in right now.
Yeah, that's great. Now, one of the interesting things that happened this year, speaking of leadership, is that the Rotary International president-elect resigned just a few weeks before his tenure was to begin, his term as Rotary International president. I don't know if that had ever happened. We had one die about 3 or 4 years ago at that age. It's not unusual for our RI presidents to be a little older, but this one resigned. Tell us a little bit about that transition and what that's meant and what that symbolizes to you.
Yes, during my training, I got to spend a lot of time personally with Mario de Camargo from Brazil. He's a wonderful human being. He's humorous. He was a great leader in Rotary, a long time on the Rotary directors, and he had been selected in the same process that district governors are selected, not by campaigning. But he had some business and family issues that started to burden him near the end of his president-elect year. So with a lot of heartache and anguish, he felt he had to resign. And that meant Rotary had no president-elect about a month before the convention in June and the launching of the new Rotary year, which a fiscal year starts on July 1st. So the directors of Rotary International got together, and in about 5 days after the resignation, they were able to bring together all the other candidates who were candidates in the year that Mario de Camargo was selected, and find out who among them might be interested and available on very short notice to become Rotary International president. I don't know that another international organization in the world would be capable of doing what they accomplished. They reached out, found candidates, and selected Francesco Arezzo from Italy. And his acceptance was 2 weeks before the Rotary International Convention in Calgary. So he had 2 weeks to get his mind around being Rotary International president, to do a few things that one needs to do because he's going to be living in Evanston near Chicago, Illinois for the next year. He'll probably only spend 100 days there, and the rest of the year he will be somewhere in the world visiting Rotary districts and Rotary zones, Rotary clubs. Amazing human being. And I'll just tell you, Mario came before us at a number of occasions at the convention, luncheons and major speeches that he made to the entire group of 20,000 people there. And one of his messages was, most international presidents have 3 years to prepare to be Rotary International president. He said, I had 2 weeks, but it is enough. He said, I spoke to my wife and she said, relax and take a coffee. You'll be fine. So that's sort of how I'm looking at things right now. Relax and take a coffee and I'll be fine. There's never too much work to do. There's always one next thing to do. And the other thing he told us is, it's going to be a fun and interesting year, and we will be successful. He said, we may not be successful in the ways that we had all been planning, but we will be successful. And he said, and what I need is not your support. And this is so Rotary. What I need is not your support. I need your affection. Because as each of us go forward, if we go forward with the ideals of peace is an action, and love, and friendship, and camaraderie, and fellowship, then the outgrowth of that is our service. And what we need right now, because this is a shift from a well-planned Rotary International president to a pop-up, a Rotary International president. He said, we need to make sure we're serving each other and serving each other well and protecting our own mental health so that our service projects can be effective in changing ourselves, our communities, and the world. And those were his major messages. And I was so proud to be a Rotarian in that moment. And what it tells us is, it's not about one person. It's about all of us. And Francesco spoke to that subject so well, that everyone in the room felt moved by it.
That's great. That's great. Now, as we wrap up here, I wonder, do you have anything that you want to alert district members to, the Rotarians in this region? Is there anything you want to alert them to in terms of maybe announcements?
Yeah, I mean, I speak directly to them during these podcasts, and I have told members that you and I are speaking to the world right now, that this podcast is wide reaching and it's growing in popularity. And we're reaching out to people who are not Rotarians, and they're going, I might want to be part of that. And thank you for that, Devin. I had no idea how far this reach would be. I also have to say to you that my Rotary members, my fellow Rotarians are watching us. They are listening and they're getting it. And they come up to me and they say, that podcast is the best thing we've ever done. Things like that. That podcast really breaks through. Jay, I love Devin and your podcast. This is amazing. So the feedback that I'm getting so far is all great. Now, if someone wants to give me some critical commentary, I'd be happy to hear it. Just do it with affection and we'll move it along. So my message to Rotarians today is, we have a major event coming, and that is our November 1st Rotary Foundation dinner at the DoubleTree Hotel in Modesto. Be there or you will miss out. We expect 350 to 400 people. We are going to be using the newer communication technology that I've been taught. My district governor-elect Pete Herman has been taught. Our district governor nominee, Christy Smith, has been taught. And our conference chair is Aggie Freeman. We are very committed to delivering something new and fresh. We're not going to have a series of long speeches at this meeting. We're going to have well-produced professional events on stage in video format. We're going to have music, and we're going to have a keynote speaker who happens to be the vice president of the Rotary Foundation, Greg Pod. if you miss it, you're going to miss something exceptional. And this is going to be the second of a number of permutations to improve our foundation dinner. Now, I'd like to talk to the non-Rotarians listening to this. You can come too. This is a dinner to celebrate donors to the Rotary Foundation, that foundation that has more than $2 billion in endowment funds, and also receives millions of dollars of new donations every year, not just to the endowment, but to other programs. You can come. You can come and listen and learn. If you want to make a donation, that's fine. It's not a requirement, but I think people are inspired when they come to make some sort of a donation to the foundation. And the last thing I want to say about it, Devin, is this is also creates a new relationship that we're trying to form between Rotarians and the foundation, the Rotary Foundation. When I joined the Rotary Foundation, I was told that you should become a Paul Harris sustaining member, which means you give $100 a year. And after 10 years, you get an award called the Paul Harris Fellowship. And it's a nice award. It's a nice framed award. You get a medallion. And that's a $1,000 gift. That represents $1,000 of giving to the foundation. And I had set that as a goal. I didn't really know that I should continue that until someone said, oh, you need to continue giving $100 a year. What I didn't know as well is there's the Paul Harris Society where you can give $1,000 a year. And it only takes 10 years to become what's called a major donor. So we're thinking about foundation giving as being part of a continuous Rotarian's career, that it's not something that you just set one goal for, but you set continuing and hopefully increasing goals of your giving. And as your career matures and your income matures, there's more opportunity to give the foundation. And that is one way, not the only way, but it is an exceptional way that we create good in the world, that we unite for good and create good in the world, is because of the action we get to take from money in the foundation that becomes grants. So November 1st at the Doubletree, you can go to our website and find a registration and register and come, whether you're Rotarian or not.
Fantastic. Well, Jay, as we wrap up now, I wonder if you would share a thought. What is the difference between individual action and the collective or group action that we can take in Rotary? Does it really matter, or can we all make a difference working independently?
I've thought about this in two contexts in my life. One is in environmental action and one is in world action through Rotary. And the environment is one of Rotary's 7 major areas of focus. So I think they go hand in glove. But when you think about environmental action, you think, okay, I can recycle, I can use less water, I can use less power, I can drive an electric vehicle. There's a lot of things that an individual can do. And that individual doesn't really move the needle in terms of global warming or any of the other, landfill or dirty water, dirty air. It doesn't move the needle of the planet very much. But if you think about groups of people, if you think about 1.2 million Rotarians, and we know that we're only 7 people removed from everybody on the planet. So if you think about 1.2 or 1.4 actually now million Rotarians and their friends and the influence that we have in our communities, and you think about all of us not only taking that action, but encouraging others to take the action, then the needle starts to move. And people get involved in their communities and community action starts to take place. And all of a sudden, a river is cleaned, a beach is cleaned. Seawater is no longer a dumping area for sewage because they've gotten to their community sewage operators. Or by global action, and I'll give you one great example, one of the global grants that I was part of in Nigeria was to build 10 water wells and 10 almost lifetime latrines. The way we build latrines in Nigeria, a latrine can last a lifetime. And by doing that, we took an entire village of 4,000 people who no longer have to go to the Niger River to get water that someone upstream has used as a toilet. And they no longer have to use the Niger River as a toilet because we brought clean, fresh water through water wells and nearby, but in a separate layer of geological layers. So those two layers aren't competing with each other. We have the sewage system. And now that village has a much lower incidence of infant mortality due to diarrhea. And everyone in the village is healthier. That is collective action. One person might be able to go drill a water well, but through Rotary, through that grant, we've taken an entire community, and this will have ripple effects up and down the Niger River. Other communities will look to this and say, we would like to do that too.
That is amazing. Jay, thank you very much for joining
Thank
me
you,
for this
Devin.
monthly recording. And I'm just thrilled. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next month.
Rotary in the heart of California, service